Hey guys, here. Today I want to go over a topic that I've talked a bit about on stream, little on Twitter, and I've seen a few other people talk about it. And Madden 20, is it the most pay-to-win year of all time in Madden Ultimate Team? Now, I myself come from the direction of I buy packs. You can tell by my content. I put that out on YouTube here, and so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I do pay to win. You see my top three right there: Young, Taylor, Henderson. So my lineup's right here. I want to know what you guys have to think about this topic. I'm going to kind of lay out my case. I want to see what you guys in the comments say about Madden 20 versus previous years. And the crazy thing is, based off this game and Madden Ultimate Team, the thing is, over the last few years, they've gotten a lot better at rewarding us for grinding the game. It's probably one of the best Ultimate Teams for that purpose. You could say MLB got better this year because of their level reward grind, and you had the best players that you actually couldn't buy. They actually got through level grinds like Clayton Kershaw and whatnot. So as MUT's gotten better with pay to win, you're asking yourself like, okay, so it's so much easier to get all these solos with the superstar solos. We're going to get MUT 10 solos where we do 10 solos over a course of 10 weeks in order to get one of the top cards in the game, including the 91 Bo Jackson that's going for 1.7 million coins right now. But that's 10 weeks from now. So the solos themselves seem to be more rewarding. The grind, we get more for seasons, weekend leagues, solo battles. So many things have entered the game. Why is it more pay to win than ever? Why do I say that? I guess my point is more pay to win or grind to win. Obviously, you can put in a lot of time and grind for a great team, because I'm going to have a lot of people in the comments saying I've no money spent 87, 88 overall. I'm money spent, obviously, 88 overall. But there are definitely some no money spent teams that are close to me because they've just grinded the game more, or they've grinded to that. With this, why is the game so pay to win? Well, it all comes down to the abilities that they added this year, right? Like the abilities and the man coverage in this game. And I've said for years, man coverage is probably the least skilled coverage that I feel like. I mean, there's man and zone, right? Those are the two coverage cases. I feel like zones can be picked apart by good route concepts. Man coverage is just man versus man, right? And if my man's better than yours and man coverage is good, I'm going to stop you. And then the counter argument is there are man beating routes. True, but there are shading and some things you can do to take away those man-beating routes. Say I have Seahorn here. If I press man coverage, cover one, I shade over top, it is very hard for you to beat Seahorn over the top with his 89 speed. Now, if I put Sprinter on him, then it's darn near impossible, right? Because he has the +2 speed on the card. So man coverage being the meta, and not being able to like exploit it over the top that easy, even with outside release routes, with old school fades. Double moves don't work when you're pressed. So there's very few things that you can get that one play touchdown on. Potentially a Tyreek Hill could rack fade win against Seahorn, but it's hard to beat him over the top. So with that, with man being able to lock guys up, just calling in, say we get like a Deion Sanders or something else crazy that can not lock up another side of the ball. And I don't have like the top tier corners. I have very good corners though. Gilmore's a little bit slow. So with man being the meta, and then you add into that the D-line pass rush abilities, which I said a few weeks back on Twitter, and I know I got roasted on the MUT sub for saying I'm very concerned with these things being overpowered. They are overpowered. They're very good. You call cover one man. You put your either a linebacker and a safety on the purple routes. Then you use her over the middle with whoever, either Shaz or another safety, whoever you don't put in the purple routes. And then it's very hard for a team that is worse than yours to succeed. Whereas, say, if you're in zone coverage, you call it cover two, you can call cover two beating routes. You can call cover three beating routes, cover four, etc. So the meta right now, it's just due to the gameplay, I feel, is why the game is so imbalanced. And so for teams that have D-line abilities, Lawrence Taylor, then offense, you have escape artist, armbar, the juke specialist. I got the Bo Jackson at 89. I did have his 91. As you saw, I put out videos on that. I ended up selling him back in order to, maintain coins for next week's new 91 or whatever his Madden 10 card. But like with that, with the stiff arm, the juke moves, actually having to put these on all the new cards or whatever new card gets it, then you have the identifier or the blitz recognition type of thing for the Bruce Matthews. I think he needs to be powered up to get to 90 awareness for it. So with that like basically makes the game easy mode for you, right? You could just basically pound the rock with high-end offensive linemen and just run stretch with Bo Jackson or a few other solid running backs, the Marcus Allen type or escape artists get out there. So like if you're playing with the abilities, you are, god tier. You're basically the Avengers out there. You're putting guys into the first stands if you have the armbar. Steve Young himself runs like 99 speed behind the line of scrimmage. That was tested by Chaos. So an 82 speed quarterback is just that much better now than everybody else on the field. He can outrun spies. So with the man coverage, along with the abilities adding in, when you go against somebody, if I go against somebody with like a mid 80s team or below, it is not that hard to win. And I know that's always been the case in Madden Ultimate Team to a certain extent, but if you recall back prior to previous years, look back at Madden 25, Madden 15, the solos weren't that good. They were long, they were full game solos, they were really grindy. But you also got away with quarterbacks just being crappy back then, and you could use was it Terrell Pryor, just running with him. So the fact that the game wasn't easy to grind for, but the fact that there were budget cards that also performed as close to top end cards kind of made it more of an equal ground too. So is that a bad thing? I don't think having cards play all alike is a good thing. I'm of the opinion that cards that have good stats need to play like they have good stats. But now that it's swung so far that they're so much more powerful, it's well, what can they do? Well, there's a few things, obviously. They could, balance out the chemistries, the abilities a little bit. There's some that I still feel are slightly more overpowered. I know they looked at a few, nerfed a few. We'll be starting to get more fast break on quarterbacks here. We'll see that. I know it's taken over regs. So with that, is zone coverage being just fundamentally terrible this year also turns the game into one that I think is more pay to win, because you have to run man coverage and you basically have to pay for man cover corners, and they're pricey. So linemen, I think, are also an issue, being able to just run the ball with high-end linemen, because there's no such thing as a budget lineman. So if you recall my example from last year, I think it was Ayupati, where every single year they start scrunching down these linemen more. Now I know it's not as big of an issue this year, but it's gone a little bit towards the extending of stats between cards. But linemen still, if you have a 72 overall lineman, he is basically, everything is going to be worse. There's no budget line. You see how all of his stats are 69, 65 right there in that area? There's never going to be, or we haven't really seen a full offensive line of say low golds. Maybe they'll have 85 run block or something that can actually match up. So you wouldn't be able to pass the ball at all with these gold cards, but you'd be able to run the ball or reverse, that kind of thing. So there's no budget offensive lineman anymore, tight ends, everything that you're just lower overall card. There's no way of actually making them usable pieces on your roster. And that's something I feel would help with roster building. Maybe it would make it too cheesy for salary cap. So that's a concern too. So there is a can of worms there with making budget cards too good. But then, of course, you can always just raise their salary cap number to compensate for that. So the budget cards that we still see in the game, nicely, because it's easy to tell, are speed wide receivers. You got your John Rosses compared to Tyreek Hills. The problem with John Ross, I ran with him for a few days at the beginning of the game. He would just drop the ball. So I always said speed is number one, and speed is still number one. Do I have a John Ross still, or did I sell him off? I might have sold him off because I was frustrated, or I don't know. But anyways, so they'll just drop the ball. Dorsett will just straight up drop the ball for you, trying to catch it. Even though his catching isn't too bad. With that, is that a problem, that the fact that his low catching makes him drop the ball? I don't think it is, as that just makes sense to me. But it does hurt with the pay-to-win aspect of this game, where you compare these high-end players versus these more budget cards. So grind to win, pay to win, it is very hard. It is, I think, the epitome of team over scheme this year. And I think it's more than even last year, just due to the abilities. Because we've always had the issues with stats on higher cards. And that's always something we've been fine with. But I think it's more focused on the abilities than anything else, stat-wise. So with that, what can they do? I mean, I know they nerfed a little bit of solo battle rewards. They give you some trophies too. And how else would they solve it? Mutt draft, I feel that's the biggest complaint that I have. For players that are new to the game, a lot of us say, hey, go play Mutt draft, because that's a good way of building your roster. But you have to be actually good at the game. If you don't want to play solos, because you just want to kind of play head-to-head, you can go into draft. You can draft it because you'll have pretty equal teams to your opponents. Obviously some random variances in there too, but I really wish there was a free option so people that are new to the game can actually play Mutt Draft. So hopefully that's something they can reinstitute, because paying for this stuff, it just doesn't make sense. Even for some of the, I know there's solo battle drafts. I haven't played any Mutt Draft at all this year, as you see. Or did I? I don't know why that's like that. So like you could do a solo draft. That's kind of boring though. But the ranked draft itself, I got 0 wins. What? Did they reset the season? But so hopefully that's something that can change going forward. Otherwise, like, I think solos are fine if they keep coming out with them at the rate they have been, like I talked about. But like making one of these things the standard entry, 0 coins, I think that's a good idea going forward. And maybe you play against ranked guys who have slightly better squads. Maybe that's more pay to win again. I don't know. I would just keep them on their own buckets. Like standard entry, 0 coins with lesser rewards. Ranked draft, higher entry. That's like the competitive mode with higher rewards, as it should be. Because right now, 2 pay to wins to enter draft. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. That's kind of what I have to think. What do you guys think about how pay to win it is this year versus previous years? Is it more? Is it less because we're getting more solos and you can grind it out, no money spent? You can play you can always play the auction house and make coins there. Or what do they need to do? Is this actually a problem, or am I just speaking out of my ass? Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching Call to Action. I'll see you tomorrow.